start off as a stand-up background or as like a sketch comedy?
I started off in no sketch comedy. I started off in the Groundlings, this LA improv group.
I've been to the Groundlings before. They always have. Oh yeah, they have. Yeah. They always have. You know, some guys you could tell. Oh, this guy's really talented, or even some people that you recognize go back and do stuff with the Groundlings.
Sure, so, yeah. I was there. I grew up. My dad was one of the founders, and I got to grow up as a kid.
Your dad was Kip King, who was famous actor and voice actor on cartoons and things like that.
Taylor Smurf.
Yeah,
Taylor Smurf.
Right. So
he was in the original Batman. He was one of the Joker's henchmen. He also used to dress up as Columbus a lot of the time. He thought the world was like a square, though. He thought it was square.
In your dad's day?
In the 60s, everybody thought the world was, you know.
They thought everybody was square back then.
Everybody's square. But yeah, so in the Groundlings, you know, and then along with like Will Ferrell and then we went then on to SNL. And but that group is pretty, you know, it still turns out a lot of great people like Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, and you know, it still keeps going. But I started doing sketch comedy, and that's how I learned how to write, and that's what prepared me for SNL.
What was your audition like? Because you know, I think they vary, right? It's you take out some characters and
they actually showed it on Saturday Night Live, the 40th anniversary. They showed a couple clips, and one of them was mine, and I never saw it until I saw that anniversary show, and so I remembered how young and Jewish I looked.
What did you do? Do you remember?
I did a couple characters that later would be seen on SNL. I did the Mr. Peepers, which is this monkey thing where I ate an apple dry on somebody's face, which was always fun. It's like Charlize Theron was the guest. That was fun. The Rock, not as fun, but you know, when there's a female that wanted to be
not a bad gig
filled with fruit would be always fun. But I did the Mr. Peepers, and I actually had a boombox just narrating what I was doing, because nobody else could be on stage with you, so it's just me on a stool and kind of just balancing on one foot and eating an apple. And
how did you develop that character? Was it through
back in the 60s.
It at parties or
parties? Almost. So it was actually developed through like a bad improv. The director was like, let's do a really terrible improv, and I came out and hung upside down a guy who was like 7 foot, and that was basically the development of Mr. Peepers.
Was it with an audience? Like there was a, you know, you're a monkey man and you're a so-and-so, and
yeah, a little bit. It was like the class. No, later we developed that into like, it could be like Jack Hanna, who brings on the animal on Carson or something. But it's funny that it was created through the direction of let's do something terrible, and that's how a character was developed. Because it gave you the freedom of like, let's not think about.
You weren't trying to be good.
Exactly, we're actually trying to be terrible.
After you were doing it, let's say Charlize Theron's going to be the guest, or Katie Holmes, or whoever, and somebody says, "Wait a second, I think maybe Kattan is just trying to dry hump the guest."
Yes, well. That's that has a lot to do with the motivation.
Azrael Abyss.
Yeah, that was
people remember. Oh yeah, that was the guy who did the goth show.
Yeah,
right? Very funny.
Thank you. Not too many people mentioned that one. I like that one, and also the director liked that one too, because it was just one sketch. It was just one set, so there wasn't a lot of other sets built for that. And I didn't really keep in mind that, you know, when you write a sketch and you have different scene changes, that's kind of a pain in the butt for other, you know, people. They have to build these sets, you know, and I didn't really think about that. I just thought about myself.
I'm told the space, I think Brandon told me this, the space is much smaller than people would expect.
It is. It's very small. Studio 8H is, you know, it's very, very small. And that also affects the sketches being performed for the audience, because sometimes sketches will be under the rafters and the audience can't see it.
The audience, they're sitting there, the sketch is going on, but they don't see what's happening.
Well, sometimes they can. I mean, if
they show it on a monitor, maybe?
Yeah, of course, but it's not the same feeling. Like if something is at so-called home base, which is right in front of you where the monologue is, they can see it and the audience response will be strong. But if it's like, you know, if it's under you and you can't see it, and you just rely on the monitors, the laughs are kind of sparse and doesn't work as well. So when somebody's watching at home, they're going, God, the sketch doesn't seem to be going so well. it may just be because they can't see it. Sometimes.
So it's really kind of the perception at home is based on the reaction of the audience, which is much like stand-up.
Well, it's like
it varies by crowd.
It's like a laugh track, except it's for real. It lets you know how well the bit's going.
Unless it's like an animated, like I remember the Flintstones when they had a laugh track. That always confused me.
Who's laughing?
Yeah.
No idea. I had no idea the Flintstones was done.
Not actually filmed in front of a live
audience.
I was watching the 40th anniversary deal, which was great. And as I was watching all the great bits, I was trying to think, there are certain categories of bits. Like there's a Saturday Night Live game show bit. And I noticed that, that bit can kind of move through the cast and move through the stuff and, remain relative.
Sure.
Azrael Abyss, that's kind of the messed up kids doing a show in their mom's basement. That there's a precedent before that and since that, right?
Yeah, like Wayne's World.
Yeah.
That was one.
Jimmy Fallon in the dorm room with Horatio.
Yeah. It was an easy way to introduce characters. I think Maya and Amy Poehler had a character like that, where they're like teenage kids. It's an easy, accessible way to introduce characters, and teenagers, get into it, and it's a simple way to do it.
There's one I call
the talk show. It's like basically the talk show.
Yeah, there's a talk show. Then there's a Meet the Family. It takes place in somebody's living room, and there's something weird going on.
I love that you're breaking this down. I mean,
I've watched Saturday Night Live all my life, but I wonder if that comes from the Groundlings in Second City. Did they kind of have, hey, this is kind of what we do, and we're going to fill in those spots?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, God, I don't even know why I never thought about it. You're right. It's true. There really are 3 or 4 very basic ways of doing characters, and for where we can put them, those would be 2 or 3 of the most predominant ways of doing it.
Yeah.
A talk show or in the living room, or Farley doing Fan by the River is like that's in a family room.
That was basically a Meet the Family.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that's the best term for it, but that's what I come up with. And then there's a category I call there's 5 minutes left. What's going to make the cut? Is that for real?
But also too, like sitcoms. I mean, look at like All in the Family or Bill Cosby Show. That's also, it's a living room with a couch, and then they have the stairs behind them, and they come down.
And then the kitchen's either there or there, and
like
the outside doors.
Usually,
everybody looks framing. It's like the same setup.
Even with an apartment, like the Jeffersons had that, or
Friends.
We just pretty much broke down TV.
Well, it's just it's
TV
just
101.
It's
TV 101.
It's humor, it's nothing's
and it's
new,
relatable
really,
though. I mean, I spend a lot of time in my living room.
Exactly, but it's a very basic and smart. It's a very basic way to do it, and it's I'm
a little surprised that wasn't a thing that you guys knew in meetings and writers.
What?
And
I think
talked
it
about
is.
This or it was just accepted.
Honestly, I don't. Well, like I wrote what I appeared in basically, but I never really thought. I did. Well, like for example, if I did like Goth Talk, I knew that was going to be a home-based talk show. So we'd be on a couch and. Basically that would be it. But
people would come down from upstairs and kind of like break the third wall and stuff.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
It'd be more about what the set builders would. They just pretty much make it that way. Also, like, well, we'll just make it into the family thing.
This is what there's room in the budget for.
Exactly.
This is what we had lying around.
Because I wouldn't think that way. Unfortunately, when I first got there, I was like, when I wrote like a Mango sketch. There was like 3 or 4 different cuts. Like
you're
the
like, we're in the jungle,
guys.
and then we're
exactly. Like I never thought like, well, we just hit the budget with Kattan's stupid sketch.
Who invented the Roxbury guys? You or Will or both?
That was Will and I. We and we were actually just simply out at a bar, and we saw some kind of pathetic guy. Who was at a he just ordered one drink, and he kind of bopped his head a little bit and just turned around and faced the dance floor and just asked if somebody wanted to dance with him, kind of miming it out. And then basically everyone said no, and they went, okay, don't worry about it, fine, that's fine. And then he went back and got another beer and did the exact same thing.
Do you hope that whoever that guy was, that he recognizes himself in the skit, or
he's probably either now in Thailand doing the same thing, or
hey,
left the business.
He probably watched it. He's like, I like these guys.
Yeah, probably.